AI to Go podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of AI to Go podcast. And today with us, there is Adam Silverman from Agency and AgentOps. Is one of the brilliant minds working on AI out of the Silicon Valley and New York. So we want to get to know him a little bit better and, of course, discover all the cool stuff that he's doing. And actually, maybe we can start with one of the biggest news that we just saw. So I heard you're partnering up with OpenAI, right? So what's the deal? What is happening there?
Yeah, we got some cool stuff to announce. So OpenAI actually launched something called the Agents SDK. So anybody who's like listening to this or anybody who manages a team of engineers, like we highly recommend checking out the Agents SDK from OpenAI. And it's basically the easiest way to start building agents in a very reliable way. They've really made it so it's so simple that like anybody can get started, but you can get very, very complex with it. So that was kind of their intention with it. The AgentOps actually launched as one of the like supported observability providers on the tracing side. So we're really excited to be working on this. Been really cool to work alongside their team as they've been releasing this. But yeah, it's been crazy over the past few days. We've just got a ton of demand from large enterprises who have been like tinkering with agents, and now finally they're like, okay, OpenAI has come out with something real. This is like, because before they had something called Swarms, and it was an experimental framework. They were very clear, like, do not use this in production. And then everybody was using it in production. And we have like companies who were using AgentOps previously with Swarms. And now they actually have like a real enterprise offering. Now they have a real platform that they're, put a full engineering team behind. And it's been amazing to support it. So yeah, anybody who's building with it, like AgentOps comes, basically in 2 lines of code, you can get like full monitoring and tracing and everything over your agent. But yeah, it's been really cool. And it's exciting to me because I think every time one of these big research labs comes out with one of these new frameworks or a new kind of like thought process around building agents, we just see enterprise adoption skyrocket. And that's been awesome to be a part of.
Absolutely. That sounds incredible. Congratulations. That's a huge milestone, I think. So I can also use that as a non-technical person, right? All I need to do is sign up to the platform and then get started, or like insert a few lines of code.
Yeah, so I will say like it is definitely more of an engineering product. There are some like cookbooks you can get started with. And if anybody's listening like is interested, just shoot me an email. And I'm happy to kind of provide you like all the cookbooks that are easy to get going with. It is definitely more of an engineering product though. Like I think the eventual goal with a lot of these is that anybody can build these automations. But what we've seen right now is like the best agents do require some type of custom development, some type of custom coding.
I would say, so that was the big announcement, and we managed to throw in there OpenAI. So at some point, maybe if you want to introduce us to someone and maybe we interview them here, then we do a cross-reference. But of course, we're here to get to know you a little bit better, Adam. And I would say, let's rewind a little bit, right, to when you were actually a kid. I think you grew up in Canada, right? So we're actually very curious to know like a little bit more like how were you as a kid? I have a friend that tells me that, that told me once that basically we grow up to be something that actually was already visible when we were kids, right? So how were you as a kid, and what are the things that really shaped you to be the entrepreneur that you are today?
So I think both my parents are entrepreneurs. So that was like one aspect. So mom's in real estate. My dad owns like small businesses. And so I always saw that like the flexibility that it gave them, like they were, if I had a hockey game or something like that, or a soccer practice, like they were the ones who were able to bring me to that. Which was always nice, or come to the games. So I always realized that like, the other parents who's, and no offense to anybody who's like this, but I mean like parents who are working in banking and accounting and stuff like that, their parents maybe weren't at those games. And I was always like, hey, this is something I definitely was striving for. Going back as early as like, probably 3rd and 4th grade, I was selling like candy at recess, and I was like always like trying to like figure out ways to like make extra like spending money. It's funny, like literally selling candy at recess to go to like the corner store and buy more candy is one thing I kind of remember doing early on. We used to like run like car washes out of my friend's like driveway and just trying to figure out like all ways we could kind of like, it wasn't necessarily even just money. It's just like something cool to do. I think my first like real business, I partnered with a friend of mine who's actually still a good friend of mine today, Andrew. And we were selling this like, he went to New York and he found this like game called Top Gnosis. And it was basically this like board with like a spinning top on it. And he's like, you can't get this in Canada. So we ended up buying like a bunch of them in bulk and bring them back to Canada. And we were selling them at recess. And it was one of these things where I realized what scarcity was pretty early, because there was different colors to the spinning tops. And so the brown ones were I forget how much it was at the time, maybe like $5 or $10 to buy. And they had like a silver and a gold one that were maybe $20. But when we brought them to the, the recessed, playground, those spinning tops could be $40, $50 for that, gold or silver one.
Oh, wow.
But early on, like figuring out those types of things, I think were pretty pivotal in my life. But I've always been like running small businesses, like I was very big early on in like reselling stuff on like in Canada we have something called Kijiji, which is kind of like a Craigslist tech company, and like when Facebook Marketplace became a thing, I was like an early seller on that. Even in high school, I was running businesses where I used to liquidate entire houses. So I used to go to like a house, and my mom's a realtor, and so someone like pass away, or someone would be downsizing or something like that, and I'd go and sell everything in the house. And that was like one of my big, kind of first endeavors, and maybe like a bit more than just like spending money. It was cool to see that like once you've sold every type of product, you understand every type of buyer. And that was awesome. Like I honestly like go back, and I think that, like maybe when I retire, I'll probably go back to, and you might have seen a TV show called like American Pickers, where they go all around the US and they just go find, like they go to barns and stuff like that and find all this crazy stuff to resell. And maybe like one day when I retire, maybe I'll go back to doing that, because it's just fun. You get to see cool stuff. You get to sell cool things, and every day is different, which I think is an important thing to kind of keep you excited with life.
We already found out that you as a person was shaped by family and by, I would say, natural curiosity, how capitalism works. What would you say, what are the other things in your life, can be travels, can be like experiences that shaped you as a person, who you are today?
I mean, we're really going philosophical here. I'm going to the root. I think one of the big things for me was that, like, growing up in Canada, I always thought that like Canada's an amazing place, like maybe intend to like raise a family there one day and all these types of things. But I always thought like there's a whole world out there. Like, how can I go explore as much as possible? So I worked like overseas when I was like, I think 19 or something like that, in Israel, and like got experience getting like this international experience pretty young. So I think that's something I've always been striving for. And even like my co-founder, like we met overseas, like we're both like very like like we both traveled to, like, I think both of us traveled to like over 30 countries. So I think we definitely like both have I don't say the travel bug, but like I like to experience net new things. I think that's one of the things that's drawn me to the US was, like, I think you can build a very amazing company in Canada. I know so many amazing founders there. But from my perspective, California has a bigger economy than all of Canada. And when you start putting like kind of, equating it to that, I think it made me realize that, like, I'd rather build a business from a place where you have the most opportunity for success than a place where you're almost capped at kind of success. I am not saying this the wrong way. Like, I think Canada's an amazing place to start a company. But I just want to I wanted to make sure when I was like starting off that like I was set up for success and in the best place that could, like, hire the best engineers, hire the best talent, have the biggest customers possible. And that was one thing that kind of drew me to the US. But yeah, I don't know. That's maybe the curiosity about me here.
I think with Johannes, we talk always about this, the differences between the US and Europe. Like, I'm from Italy, living in the Netherlands, he's from Germany. And like, we all agree that it's always easier to do business with Americans or within the US, right? Because there's really a different culture. Like Johannes always says it, like, it's really like about, collaborating and just making things happen, right? Whereas in other countries, maybe it's a bit, it's not that easy, let's say. But where did your passion for AI come from? Because obviously you worked in many different companies, you had different companies in marketing, sales, and so on, even the talent, I think, at some point, right? So you did very different things. So why AI? So where did your passion come from?
Couple things. So one is, I've always been obsessed with like trying to automate my job. Like, I think like everybody who works should be thinking about this. Like, and I literally still talk to people about this every day. Automate your job. You've done that means that like there's like more intellectually stimulating things that you can be doing with your time. And going back to like I worked in baking for a bit, and I was like always just trying to figure, I'm like, is this really like what my job is? Is it going to be just spending like 12 hours a day in Excel and PowerPoint? Like, there's more to life than that. And I think not that some people don't realize that, but I think it's something that a lot of people need to embody more. So I've always been obsessed with it and trying to figure out like where automations exist, how can I make myself more productive. Even my first company, we were a search engine for like Musical.ly and TikTok creators, and it made the job a lot easier for like talent managers and stuff like that. So instead of going and spending all day on TikTok looking for who the next star is, you could basically just put in criteria like, I need a magician in Venice, Italy that has 50,000 followers, and it would instantly find that person for you. And so these are the things I think through. Like, I think I've always been passionate about it. Second piece I want to like kind of hone in on a bit is that like I was very curious a lot through content and like research papers I was reading. So I didn't go and study like AI in university. And I honestly, I think it's amazing when people do that. I think like the amount of resource that exists online now, go on Twitter, go follow all the top researchers in the space. Go follow like people who you think are building amazing companies. Go follow like the best creators in the space. And that's kind of what got me hooked. So I actually had the pleasure of meeting the person behind the channel, but there's a company or a channel called 2 Minute Papers. I don't know if you have either.
Oh, yes. Yeah, of course.
So he's like, that was like a channel that like, when it first came out, like I think I was like one of the first like 5,000, 10,000 subscribers on that channel. But it was amazing to me because like my girlfriend at the time hated it. She's like, you're listening to this like guy who's talking about the most academic stuff 24/7. But I was like, this is so cool. Like, I don't need to like understand these papers. So what I would do is I'd basically go listen to his videos and then I go read the academic paper. And then when I'm reading the paper, I'm like, oh, I actually understand this now. And it was like the best life hack ever, or like getting up to speed very quickly in AI. And I recommend people do the same thing. It's like he has like years of videos now. You can go back and look through all this stuff. And it explains stuff in such a simple way that to me is like, people are always like, oh, how do I get started, learning about AI? I get this question all the time. And like, I have a list of resources I'm happy to kind of send to people in terms of like, here's some things to check out. But just go on YouTube and just like consume as much content as possible. Go spend a weekend. And what I realized actually in between like looking at AI, I was looking into like geothermal energy. It's totally random. But I read like 4 textbooks on it, listen to every podcast, listen to every media interview, like listen to like lectures. And in like a 3-month period, like, did I become a worldly renowned expert? No, but I probably like was in the top 1% of people who knew about geothermal energy just by like reading these textbooks and like engrossing myself with this information. And I think you do the same thing with AI, like, especially if you're like a leader at a company, like if you just go spend, I don't know, a weekend, like really like just immerse yourself in all the content possible, you can come out on the other side and be like the AI guy at your company who knows everything about AI, because like it's just a matter of like it's information asymmetry. And that's one thing I think through quite a bit. That's how I got like really curious on this stuff. And my co-founder, he like had a background in machine learning, and he used to work for like a bunch of like amazing companies. And so like he was a good like springboard. So I'd watch a video, listen to research, or like look at a research paper, and I send it to him like, hey, what do you think of this? He's like, oh, that's cool, but have you read this other paper? Or have you seen this? And oh, that's a great concept, but this is actually outdated. Like you should look at this. And this type of stuff, like like I think also like having like a peer in your life that you can go to and like bounce things off of. That's also like, I think one thing that you can't replicate.
How many people are in the company now?
So, it depends if you count how many agents we have. So we have over like 50.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I have like 10 full time and then 10 contractors that we work with. But we're like, I gotta say, like our bar for talent's incredibly high. So we've been like really like finding, I think there's like great engineers, there's excellent engineers, and finding exceptional engineers who are like also willing to put it all on the table and just work. Like I don't want to glorify like working like a lot. Like I think like that's one thing I don't like when founders like, oh, I worked 5,000 hours this week. It's like great, but no, the team, like I think more so than anything, like when you're passionate about solving a problem. And one thing we ask in all of our interviews is interesting is like we want you to work on like the most challenging, interesting problems you ever solved in your life. And if people are willing to like buy into that vision or willing to like really give their all, it's amazing. Like we have some team members who are overseas now, and the energy they put towards like our company is it's infectious. Like it even excites me sometimes. And sometimes I just be like, guys, you have to sleep. Like I love that you want to work so hard, but it's like, guys, please like take like a break and like, chill out. But they're so passionate about it. And this is the cool thing with AI, where I think a lot of people were developers for a long time and they're like, hey, I don't know, where my career is going. And then now it's a lot of this AI stuff. They're just so invigorated and so excited and want to be on the cutting edge and bleeding edge, that they're like, they just want to, they really want to commit like their whole life to like building like the coolest, most challenging products possible.
Before I forget, Adam, I think you are a great source for like the latest industry updates. So make sure everyone to follow Adam Silverman, either on LinkedIn or on X, for like a weekly update on all the things that are happening in this space. Before we dive into,
I got to tell you guys, it's not. Everyone's always like, "Oh, Adam, you have this like, agent posting for you." I'm like, I wish I had an agent. I tried to build one.
Doesn't work
That's what
yet.
the thing is. Like, I protect. Like, if I'm posting something, I want to make sure like I actually approve of it. I want to make sure it's my own voice and everything. And like, you can train some stuff and you can try it. But everything is like 60-70% of the way there. And I'm like, I just got to do it myself.
what would you say, Adam, based on your experience now in the AI space? What are the tools that you use on a daily basis, like for personal or professional use? What is like exciting for you?
ChatGPT, say ChatGPT otherwise.
Well, we love OpenAI, but I mean, anyways, this is the reality. The tools I use are probably not like the most sexy tools, a lot of them. So every day I use Whisper Flow. Highly recommend it. Okay. I don't type any emails anymore. If you're getting an email from me, I didn't type it. I dictated it. So that's like a game changer for me. We built a lot of custom agents at AgentOps that I use every day, but like, are they public facing? Some of them might be soon. But right now, like we built a lot of automations. So even like everything from like lead scoring. So like we get a ton of inbound traffic on the site. Like I want to make sure I'm not wasting my day every day with like, 10 hours of meetings when we could basically evaluate pretty, quickly, like, hey, is this a good lead or not? And do they budget and all this stuff. So we have agents that do that. For email, like it's not even really an agent or an AI tool, or like I guess AI tool, but Superhuman. Like if you're not using Superhuman, I don't know. Like I'm obsessed with it. It's the best email client by a landslide. Nothing comes close to it. I will preach from the innards of the earth. I try and get everyone on my team to use it. Some of them are a bit like they're Luddites. Even some of the most AI advanced people, they still want to use their Apple Mail or whatever it is. But Superhuman's a game changer. Some other stuff. So I use like Nutra AI quite like a bit for automations. I use Gumloop. I use Lindy. Like these are all on the no code side. So like anybody can get started with these tools. I use Nexus GPT. That's another one. So there's a bunch of different tools. They all have different functionalities. But when it comes down to like building like serious business automations, I'm going back to my team and I'm just like, hey, we need to actually build this custom from the ground up. So that's kind of like, I wish I could share more about some of these, but like there's a lot of different functions in our business that we've like basically fully automated. And that's where I think a lot of companies need to start from this perspective. Like, what is taking me more than like an hour a week? Like that's stuff that we should be automating. What are like expensive tasks? Like anything that's expensive and like has a like employee attached to it. Like think through like, do they actually need to be doing this task? What's repeatable? And then what's low risk? If you can hit off all three of those criteria, that's where like, that's the most right place to start with automations. And I highly recommend anybody who's listening to like think through that same framework. Because on the other end, you're going to be in a position where like I never want anybody to lose a job. All I want people to do is like actually enjoy their work they do, opposed to show up and be miserable because they're doing work that like a robot is much better at doing.
That's very good. And Adam, you're talking to two people. Well, probably Johannes is a bit more advanced than me. I am at the level of like, I'm very enthusiastic about AI and I try to play around with it, but I'm still at perplexity, ChatGPT, level. So that's, because I think
Sorry, I use perplexity all day. It's amazing. Like and Grok too. Deep research. Like if I just have an idea, I don't even like ask anybody or I don't post about it. I don't ask for people's feedback. I just go to Perplexity or in Grok, to be honest, like hit them off, side by side and see what the result is. And then I go from there.
All right. We share a secret. We use Perplexity to prepare the questions for this interview. But of course, like, well, as mentioned, like I'm an enthusiast, right? And for me, this the podcast together with Johannes is really a chance to get to know a little bit more and really, but in an easy way, right? So obviously, we cannot avoid this question, right? Because you're the expert. So can you explain us what is an AI agent in simple terms, like really, like if I'm 5?
Okay, so my co-founder actually he spoke at TED AI on this exact concept. And I like to use his explanation. But in San Francisco, we have these like autonomous cars that take you from point A to point B. So like Waymos, and there's more coming on the road every day. And the way to kind of think about agents are these like autonomous pieces of software. So you say, hey, I want to, get a task done from point A to point B, and it'll take you through that entire journey. maybe they'll, come back to you, have some questions in the meantime. But for the large part, it's like working completely autonomously on its own.
That is easy,
See,
actually.
on me, Elise. She seems to understand it when I explain it like that. But
Oh, that's good.
try to.
What would you say? How do agents help people and businesses today and in the future?
So honestly, I think like a lot of mundane tasks people do as part of their jobs, like that's where agents are coming in right now. So you're seeing a lot of like, there's different levels of customer support, for example. So like tier 3, tier 4 customer support is getting fully automated right now. So this is like password resets and tell me when my flight is, and very basic QA questions that humans used to have to answer are now getting automated. On the research side, we're seeing a ton of banks going off these agents, which to me is really exciting. So previously you used to have like an analyst have to do all this work, like comparing stocks and pulling research and stuff like that. Now this is a total automated process. So yeah, that's kind of, I think, where we're seeing like a lot of progress right now. And now we're starting to get into like really complex automations that people are saying, okay, here are like the 10 things my employee does as part of their like loan approval process, for example. We want to figure out automations for each part of it. And then you chain all these things together and you get very reliable workflows.
Cool. And I saw so on your website, right, you serve like different types of companies, but I saw mostly Fortune 500 and startups as well. What's the coolest case study that you worked on so far? And I mean, disclose just what you can.
I think we've talked publicly about this one. Definitely the weirdest one we've had was we had a person come to us who does estate planning. And so what they do is they look through obituaries to see like when people passed away and then find the next of kin. And they had a team of like, I think it was like 30 plus people who full time were just like looking for when people passed away and figuring out who to contact to the company to do estate or who to contact on their side to do the estate planning. And we built an agent for them that basically does like immense amounts of research through obituary data and actually figures out who to contact as the next of kin. And I think they're going to probably 30x their business this year just with this agent. So,
oh wow,
a niche use case, but it's one of the weird ones that like it's a perfect job for an agent to do. Is go do a ton of research, collect a bunch of data, normalize the data, and get it in a format that humans can start acting on. And that's been those are the cool ones. To be honest, I think if we showed the like ChatGPT to people 100 years ago, they would think this is AGI. I just think the goalposts keep moving. But yeah, it's I think we're very close, like scary close to this in a lot of regards.
You hear that a lot in Silicon Valley. That is right? So people are assuming that within the Trump presidency, we will reach an AGI-like status. So depending on the definitions, of course, but yeah, it feels like it's within reach if you listen to like one of like the leading voices of the industry, which is exciting and scary at the same time. And I don't think we are prepared for that, both like for the opportunity and also like for risk mitigation, right? So humans are linear thinkers and we tend to have problems understanding exponential technology.
Yeah. What do you think, Adam?
Like we had like a big company discussion about this a couple of months ago. And when we came to terms of that, like we want to build the best tooling to support AGI. So when AGI is here, it's like, how are you going to observe what's going on? What guardrails are in place? How do you know what data has access to? What websites it's visiting? All this type of stuff. And Alex, my co-founder, he's really big on this. Like, if we can build the best tooling to support AGI, that's like one of the best things like any company could be doing and making investments in, to making sure that like their employees are secure, the business is secure, that they like, there maybe will be some regulation that comes in this place to make sure they're in line with the regulation. So we think quite extensively about this stuff.
Adam, you tested 500 and more different agents, right? So you really have a broad overview of what is possible today and what isn't, right? That's level set for a moment. What do you see? What is like possible today? What is within reach, and what is just like some marketing that technology companies are promising?
I think I went through a lot of the use cases already that like are working well today. So like research, a lot of compliance type stuff, a lot of like contract review, customer support, financial analysis. These are all things like today work really, really well. What else? Like voice is getting there. Like I think a lot of regards, I think we're about like 80-90% of the way there. We're gonna see the future though. So I think right now there's this big problem where like every agent to build is a massive, like it sucks. Like, and like we kind of say publicly, like building agents suck. In this, like, I really do feel this like in a lot of regards. The process to build an agent now is like, you have to identify, here's a workflow we want to automate. Then you have to go get a team or then you got to figure out, okay, like what framework, what tool do I want to use to go automate this? Then you got to put a team together. Then you got to create evals. Then you got to get monitoring. Then you have to deploy the agent. Then you have to continue like observing and monitoring it in production. And I think this is probably similar to if you were to deploy a website in 1990, how many broken telephones through all those processes. So I think in the future, we're going to get to a point where you're going to have like a system that like looks at everything you're doing 24/7 on your computer and actually recommends automations proactively. So instead of thinking, okay, maybe I can automate this, there's going to be an agent that just tells you, hey, I've already built this automation for you. I just take this off your plate. I don't think we're there yet. We've been doing a lot of experimenting internally on this type of stuff. But that's when the future I'm really excited for.
And in general, for your company, right? So, what are your biggest ambitions? So, where is it going?
So, we're continuing to work with like large companies, which is exciting. So, I think that piece is exciting. We have some agents we're going to be launching ourselves as well, just because we've been toying around internally. We're like, hey, we should release these things in the public, and they've benefited us, so let's release them out there. I think long term, like we want to empower like billions and billions of agents. So I think that's kind of the future we're going towards. And we want to basically have one place where all your agent data lives. So like one data lake for everything agentic. So we're completely platform agnostic. We're LLM agnostic. We're framework agnostic, tooling agnostic. So basically anybody who's building agents in a production grade way, we want to make sure we're supporting them throughout that whole journey.
How do you envision that future? Like once we have thousands of agents operating across like the organization, how does that look like? How does that human AI collaboration look like in the future?
In the same way you message a colleague on Slack or Microsoft Teams, you just tag them. And I don't know if you guys have used Devin, but like Devin is the same way. You just tag Devin and it starts working. I think that's going to be the interface that we interact with a lot of these agents, other than the ones I talked about where it's just like literally looking at your screen 24/7 recommending automations.
So Devin is the AI engineer from Cognition, and that's like one of the more advanced coding agents. And you just talk to it. I think Adam mentioned that he's using Super Whisper, for example, right? So you can just talk to it. There's even a cultural term now being shaped in Silicon Valley that is called vibe coding, where you're just hanging out, sipping some wine on a Sunday afternoon, and you're just doing some coding exercise, and you're just pushing code into production, talk to the system, and like build apps and websites. Have you done that as well?
We have. So I have my hesitancy towards vibe coding. The reason is because at least this is what the team is telling me. I'm just speaking from them, but they said that like when you start using all these Gen AI tools and becoming reliant on them, he goes, it makes very smart engineers kind of dumb. And the reason is because they spend a lot of time debugging like this slop code that these basically LLMs are creating, opposed to actually thinking about like innovative ways to go and solve these challenges. So that piece has been, it's interesting from our perspective, where I think it's like getting a prototype to market's been fast. Like this is the fastest you could ever get a prototype to market. And that's great. But when you start thinking about scaling and you get into like, I don't know, we have this like Kubernetes challenge, let's just call it, that we were working on the other day. Like the LLMs are not good at it. It was not good at solving it. Maybe we'll get to a point where they are very good. I think, I think we're probably a year away from like really, really breakthroughs or like massive breakthroughs on the software engineering front. And I think like there is always going to be a place for like LLMs to actually generate code. And I think this is, it's amazing for the industry as a whole. But right now I'm very focused on like really, I want my engineers to think, and I want them to like use the critical thinking. And you like, if it's just a small, like, let's say front end change, great, use the LLMs. Like you want to change a button color, go crazy. Like if you want to make like a small integration or something like that like is, like I think you can trust these like coding agents as much as you can trust like an intern almost right now. It's like you can give them like some tasks to do, but you're not going to ask your intern to like rebuild your entire infrastructure stack day zero of the job. And I think that's where like the promise of it is eventually you can do that. But right now, like we're just like we've thrown some crazy questions at these like coding agents and they fail. And like for basic stuff, it's great, but it's, like we update a bunch of logos on our website, for example. Perfect. Like that's like a task that like, an intern could probably do on the first day of the job. That's what we were asking the agent to do. But it is like everyone on our team uses them. Like it's like almost like you have to be using the tools. You have to make sure that like you're trying them at least. But I do want to make sure that like the critical thinking skills of like the best engineers in the world, we're not losing those. I think it's a very important piece.
And how do you internally, how do you do to keep this critical thinking in your team, right? Because I realize like, I notice it also with myself, like the more I use AI, the lazier I get. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm just going to ask ChatGPT, so how do you manage to keep this critical thinking in the company?
Honestly, we do like a lot of like handwriting type stuff and it sounds so like old school. But it's like when we set our company vision and we have like people like who are longtime employees of us, basically write like a memorandum of like where they want the company to go over the next like year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is like a process of like, you just handwriting, like you can't get out of that. There's actually a really interesting book I read called The Artist's Way. And I recommend like anybody listening to go through it.
Yeah.
And one of the concepts is like basically writing like 3 pages every morning. And I've been doing this for a while now. And I think it's one of these things. It's like, we're in this world where like basically infinite information accessible to us at any time. You got to still be critical and think like, how do you ask the right questions? How do you like actually materialize your thoughts? And honestly, like writing is such a great exercise to do that. So I do recommend like anyone listening to this, go check out that book. There's 2 cool books actually. I really like the Creative Act. I think it's called by Rick Rubin. That's a really cool book. And then I went to the bookstore. I'm like, is there anything else like this? And they're like, The Artist's Way is a great one. And that's how I found that book.
You asked to the bookstore. You should have asked an AI.
Yeah, I still like talking to humans. I'm not at a point
Very
like I used to like talking to AI more than humans. I'm not there yet by any means. I did try the Sesame demo. I was pretty impressed with that. But I mean, from our perspective, like I would really recommend like people that should be trying to communicate with humans as much as possible. I think that's the beauty of being a human is I get to interact with people. I get to talk to people. I get to share insights and experiences and all these things. So anybody who's just like spending all day talking to AI chatbots, the only one who's benefiting from that is the companies building these chatbots. I really think you got to still maintain like human relationships.
We have one question, I think, now that we have you as the agent expert on the call. How does one get started? Like if you're a non-technical person, how do I start experimenting, building agents and deploying them in my workflows? Like in a professional scenario, but also like just for fun at home.
Cool. So there's a bunch of things you can do. Like my biggest recommendation, like I said before, is just go to YouTube. Like I genuinely, my heart of heart believe it. It's like, go think of like a very basic problem you want to solve. See if somebody's made a tutorial about that on YouTube. If you're building with any of the major frameworks, obviously use AgentOps. Can't be recommended enough. We have a bunch of examples too, where people can get started, even if you're, very, like an early stage developer. But really like, couple things I recommend is go make a new Twitter account, like net new Twitter account, no politics, no cat videos, no whatever, and just focus and just go follow all the top AI researchers and follow all the top influencers in the agent space or AI space. Your feed will just be a curated list of everything you need to know. And I highly recommend it. And like, you can even just look through my posts that I make and anybody I'm tagging in any of my like agent threads I do. These are very good people to follow because they're on the bleeding edge of building this type of stuff. So that's one thing I really recommend, like everybody should do. And just basically like curate your knowledge, like curate your knowledge in a way that is just focused on what you want to learn. So if you want to learn front end stuff, great, go follow the best front end people. If you want to learn like agents, go follow the best agent people. It's such an easy thing to do and it costs $0 to do. And these are things where it doesn't matter where you're geographically situated. You don't need to be in San Francisco. You don't need to be in Silicon Valley. You can be anywhere in the world and you can go learn from the best people possible. And that's like, I think the beauty of like the internet. And I have a whole theory that like, I think one of the most important things in life is like getting everyone access to water, food, and then like reliable Wi-Fi. And I think like, as long as you have an internet connection, you can learn anything you want. So that's like one thing I really recommend everyone do. And the big thing with YouTube too is that like, you can do it at your own pace. You can watch the same video 20 times. It's totally fine. Like if you don't get the concepts the first time, watch it again and watch it again and watch it again until you understand, okay, this is actually how I do it. And oftentimes these creators are great. Like if you watch content you like and you have questions, you can get in their Discord, you can, post a comment, you can email them, whatever it is. And you'd be amazed. Like a lot of these folks will actually go and respond to you.
Awesome. So we're going to put all these resources that you mentioned, of course, also in the description. But to conclude, we want to play a little game with you, which is actually a true or false game. So we're going to shoot at you some news, AI related news, and you have to tell us if this is true or false. Now, obviously, we selected some of the most random AI innovation out there. So let's see how well prepared are you today. Let's start with the first one. So the news is someone created this AI-powered robot chef that has been awarded a Michelin star, becoming the first non-human to receive this prestigious culinary honor. Is this true or false? AI chef.
I've seen some AI chefs. I just don't know about the Michelin star bit. So I'm going to say false on that one.
Yeah, right. It is false. Although, just as you mentioned, indeed, there have been a lot of developments actually in that sense, a lot of robotic cooking and so on. So yeah, indeed, I think at Stanford, they're doing quite some research on that sense. So, but this was false.
If the companies who make those are listening, like our office is like, we're ready for Robot Chef anytime. And I'll give it an Adam star, maybe not a Michelin star.
Awesome. Yannis, you want to go with the next question? You can pick one of them. Pick a difficult one, though.
Oh, I like the next one. That's an interesting one. Adam, rumor has it that there's an AI system that can accurately predict the person's time of death within a 3-month window, just analyzing social media activity. True or false?
So I know Facebook for a while had this like AI that could predict if women were pregnant before they knew they were pregnant, based on certain like things they were looking for. So for this one, I'm gonna go with true, just because like I know the recommender systems are getting very good, but I'm not 100% sure about this, to be honest.
Yeah, I would also be split between true and false for sure. In that case, it's false. So lucky us. Although, yes, exactly. You can use AI to predict risks related to your mental health, just looking at social media data. So there is like the advancement goes quickly here as well, but it's not possible as of today.
Not yet. I like this one actually. All right, this is good. So, researchers have developed an AI system that can read complex thought based on brain scans, interpreting complete sentences with 80% accuracy. Is it true or false?
I'm going to say true on this one too. I think like I've seen some of the cool cutting edge research in this space. Is it true? Yeah.
It is true. That's insane.
Yeah, I would like one of those. I want it. I think anybody who's like dating or anything like that would also love it. So if they could virtualize this, then they're gonna make a couple $1 million.
Yeah, that's insane, right? So imagine if like we are really able to read thoughts of people. That's insane. Like that would really be next level. Like that's really crazy.
I have one more for you. I think that's also they're also split here. Rumor has it there's an AI-powered humanoid robot that is called Sophia, and she was granted citizenship by a country, and she was the first robot ever to receive such a recognition. True or false?
Yeah, I think this is true. I think I saw the demo of Sophia, but is it true?
It is true. It's true. But do you know which country and what year? That is a bonus points if you get them.
I think it was in the Middle East, and I think it was probably in the past year, so 2024 maybe. But I think it's a publicly traded company in Canada run by Andrew Teagle, who like came up with Sophia. And it's awesome. Like honestly, like it was funny. My dad has a car wash, and he used his time. He's like, I want one of these receptionists. Like he's like, I would love to have. It's just like, at the end of the day, like you can get very personal. It's like they're great at upselling. It's like, oh, do you want, I don't know, a car wash? Like, do you want the tire shine? Do you want to go for the wax or whatever? Like, these are not human questions. Like, you don't really need a human. It's like, in the same way you go to, McDonald's and it's upselling you saying, oh, do you want to add fries to your, hamburger? It's really not rocket science. So I think having that I don't know what you want to say human, somewhat like personal connection is definitely something that companies are all striving for. And I think it's great innovation if you can make happen.
Awesome. So I think, Johannes, we can deduct from this little game that he does know about AI. Look at that. He is an expert. So we decreed that you're an expert. But
Adam's taking an internal mental deep breath now. We're done with the game. You did great, Adam.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome. And definitely if anybody's interested and curious, like I said, going the fact that you're watching this podcast is probably you're already ahead of the curve. But I really recommend just going on YouTube, checking out these things. One thing I can share with you as well is I have a list of I think we're up to over 500 agents now on this list. Anybody's interested in the space can go download. It's totally free. It'll say put in a nominal amount or something. I actually put $0. I don't want any money for this list. It's literally just a Google sheet of everything. But I highly recommend people go check it out and just really my one recommendation for anyone is go through your workday over the next year or over the next week, month, however long. Just think these parts of my job a robot should be doing. I should not be doing this particular task. And if you can do that effectively, you're in such a good position. So that's my recommendation for anyone listening who's what do I start automating? What should I get started with? Figure out the worst parts of your job that make you miserable and start automating those. And then you can optimize the parts of the job that make you happy. Personally, I love talking to people. If my job all day could be 8 hours of meetings or just talking to people, I would love that. So that's what I mean. Do I like doing admin stuff? Do I like sending out NDAs and contracts and stuff? It's not the most fun thing I do by any means, but it's part of the job. So think through these are the processes that can get automated.
Awesome. Adam, thank you so much. This was so insightful and I had a lot of fun. So thank you so much for being with us. If someone in the audience wants to reach out to you, so I saw on LinkedIn, you have thousands and thousands of connections. So what is the best way for people to reach out to you if they just want to get in touch?
So Twitter's great. And I think I should just do put the links in the bio just to make it easier. And then Twitter's great. LinkedIn is you can follow, and then email's great. My email's on my LinkedIn. So if you actually have specific questions, just email me there and we can, and I think it's on my Twitter as well. So just reach out there.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Then, of course, we will put all the links in the description below. And for now, I would say we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Obviously, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other interesting conversations. And for now, bye, everyone.
Don't forget to subscribe to the AI to Go podcast.